Good morning and welcome to this information session. My name is Kabwe Piri. I'm the Enterprise Program Manager on the GREENTech4CE project. In this session, we will discuss the launch of the Call for Concept Notes that the project has launched on the 3rd of March 2025. We will discuss the opportunity and how you as an enterprise can participate. In this presentation, we'll talk about the project summary. We'll also talk about circular economy, working definitions. We'll also discuss the actual opportunity that is currently available under the GreenTech project, which discusses the funding opportunities available, the eligibility criteria, the types of activities, and opportunities for those in partnerships or joint ventures. We'll also be discussing the application process. Perhaps a bit of a background about what the project looks to support. So the project is a 4-year project that commenced in July of 2024, and that is funded by the European Union to a tune of 22.7 million euros. And the ultimate objective of this project is to promote and de-risk investment in green sustainable growth in Zambia through creating and sustaining green, circular, and digital economic opportunities for women, youth, and men. Ultimately, the project is looking to create 2,000 new jobs and sustaining 4,000 existing jobs, as well as promoting inclusivity, targeting 50% women and 75% youth among participants in the green, circular, and digital economies. The project will look to support 550 startups and MSMEs with technical assistance, grant support, as well as business development. The project is also looking to enhance market access for about 330 startups and 250 SMEs to local, regional, and international markets. Within the scope of the project, we're looking to catalyze 20 million euros of investments for green, circular, and digital projects amongst MSMEs. The project will look to train 500 individuals in circular economy, financial, digital, and management literacy, including TVET curriculum improvement across the country. The project is being implemented by a consortium of 4 partners, which include Self-Help Africa, who are the lead implementing partner, supported by Tandems Consulting, Prospero Limited, and Imani Development. So as we continue the conversation around this opportunity currently available under the GreenTech project, it's important to establish some working definitions in case you come across them as we engage. So number 1 is startup enterprise. What do we define as a startup? So the project has defined a startup as innovative young company founded by one or more entrepreneurs to develop a unique product or service and bring it to market. Startups focus on rapid growth and scalability, frequently improving their product through continuous feedback and usage of data in a process known as iteration. Many startups begin with a minimum viable product, MVP, and refine it until it is ready for market. So in terms of the startups that will be considered under this call, this will be the definition we'll be working with. International Financial Reporting Standards. The International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, are global accounting standards set by the International Accounting Standards Board, IASB, to ensure financial statements are transparent, comparable, and understandable across various countries. What is green economy? This is an economy that results in improved human well-being and social equity while significantly reducing environmental risks and ecological scarcities. What is circular economy? An economic model that aims to minimize waste, maintain the value of products and materials in the economy for as long as possible, and promote recycling, reusing, and remanufacturing. What is digital economy? These are activities in the economy that result from electronic transactions, processes, devices and data among people, businesses, as well as government. So now we will look at the opportunity under the current call for concept notes, which we're referring to as call 2. So what are our focus areas? So activities under this call must be taking place in the Republic of Zambia, and initiatives, although will not be limited to geographical locations, but we will have particular focus on operations within Lusaka, Copperbelt, and Northwestern Province. And the project is looking to target the missing middle. These are typically high-risk, innovation-led and growth stage businesses that usually lack commercial financing. To be considered eligible, your project concept notes and full proposals submitted must fall within the following eligible sectors. So under this call, we're looking to support initiatives and activities in the mining sector, services sector, energy sector, construction sector, digital, transport and logistics, creative arts, as well as manufacturing sectors. So the type of activities to be funded under this call will be innovation in green and circular economy. So typically eligible activities may include bio-waste management, so those that are producing biogas or biomass, material recovery and aggregation, that includes glass, waste management, electronics and paper, waste to energy conversion, and implementing leasing or subscription models for green products. Other activities could include sustainable manufacturing and transportation, such as local transformation of critical raw materials and minerals, including artisanal small-scale miners, sustainable transport solutions such as electric vehicles and charging stations, as well as machine repair, refurbishment, and equipment leasing to extend product lifespans. Other activities also include value chain development and recycling, and eligible activities under the scope include strengthening ancillary value chain actors, integrating informal groups into formal value chains, establishing specialized recycling centers for critical raw minerals from e-waste and other waste that could potentially come out of the mining firms, and collaborating with municipal councils for landfill management and waste commercialization. The project is also looking to support capacity building and ESG improvement. So eligible activities under the scope include training initiatives for green circular business models with a focus on women and youth empowerment, and will also be looking to support feasibility studies on resource efficiency, circularity, and sustainable production of products and services. As a continuation from the previous slide, so regarding feasibility studies, they could also include studies meant to explore opportunities for sustainable utilization of resources and promoting circularity, waste to value initiatives, product life extension strategies, resource efficient manufacturing, development of sustainable models addressing sustainable extraction and production of critical minerals. Additional to that, we're looking to also support specialized recycling centers, and activities could include those that establish and support specialized recycling centers that focus on secondary collection, dismantling, and recovery of valuable critical raw minerals from electronic waste and electronic equipment. We are also looking to support innovative ownership models, and these could be measures aimed at setting up business models that enable the provider to retain ownership of the product, thereby allowing the customer access to high quality green, circular, or digital products through leasing, renting, or subscription services. We're also looking to support initiatives that aim to develop innovative training solutions for enterprises or for businesses. So this could be conceptualizing and production, distribution of training material using innovative methodologies such as digital platforms and tools, particularly if targeting green circular business models or production processes, women and youth entrepreneurship and empowerment, and improvement of environmental and safety standards at work. So what are the funding opportunities under this core? So we're looking to support enterprises, so SMEs, that are within the scope of the sectors that we mentioned earlier. So this could include men, women, and youth. We also have a funding opportunity for startups on the basis of them being supported and backed by a financial service provider. So they would need to have secured that support from a financial service provider that could be a bank, venture capital firm, or impact investor. And we also have another opportunity that is specifically targeting women and youth-owned enterprises. We're also looking to support feasibility studies, like I earlier mentioned, and we're also looking to support joint ventures between Zambian firms and EU firms. We can now take a look at the eligibility criteria for the various opportunities under this core. So number one, we have a funding opportunity which we're calling 1A, which is targeting youth and women-owned enterprises. And we have another funding opportunity which we're referring to as 1B, which is targeting any other enterprises. So if you don't fall into the first one, which is 1A, it means you will automatically fall in the 1B category. So under both of these opportunities, there are key ownership structure criteria that we're looking for. So number one should have a minimum of 50% Zambian ownership. So the business needs to be owned at least 50% by a Zambian. Number two, the business should at least have 50% ownership by residents whose origins are in the European Union or SADC member states, but whose tenure of residence in Zambia is at least 20 years. Number three, the businesses with European Union or SADC majority shareholding with a minimum Zambian shareholding of at least 20%. And the fourth opportunity and criteria is a joint venture between a Zambian registered company and an EU company. So in terms of ownership under the two funding opportunities, your business should at least be able to fulfill one or more of the four criteria that I've just mentioned. In terms of shareholding, for those that are applying as youth and women-owned enterprises, the majority of the shares should be owned by women or youth. In this case, we're defining our youth as those aged between 18 to 35 years old at the time of application. The minimum turnover under the 1A opportunity is 150,000 euros. And the minimum turnover and under opportunity 1B is 200,000 euros. The maximum turnover for both windows or for both opportunities is 2.5 million euros. So if you're applying under the first opportunity, which is opportunity 1A, you need to ensure that your turnovers are between 150,000 euros to 2.5 million euros. If your turnover is less than 150,000 euros, it means you would be considered ineligible under this core, and will then recommend that you participate in other subsequent cores that we will be releasing throughout the year. The same applies for those that are applying under any other enterprises, which is opportunity 1B, is that if your turnover is less than 200,000 euros, at least in one of the last 3 years, it means you will not be considered eligible under this core, but perhaps you could be eligible for the other course that we will be putting out. In terms of years of operation, as a youth and women-owned enterprise, you will need to have been in business for at least 2 years uninterrupted in Zambia, whereas under any other enterprises opportunity 1B, you would need to have been in business uninterrupted in Zambia for at least 3 years. Regarding audited financials, your business must have at least 1 year of management accounts prepared in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, by an accountant accredited by the Zambia Institute of Certified Accountants. So this is applicable to those applying under the opportunity 1A as a youth or woman-owned enterprise. For those that are not in that category and fall in the other category 1B as any other enterprise, you must have at least 2 years of financial statements, including audited accounts for the most recent year. The audited accounts should also be prepared in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards by an accountant accredited by the Zambia Institute of Certified Accountants, ZICA. So under both opportunities, there will be some specific statutory compliance measures and requirements that will need to be met. So as a business, you must be compliant for the most recent year with all national and local laws and regulations, including meeting all obligations relating to the payment of taxes, remitting returns to PACRA, Social Security contributions such as NAPSA, operating licenses, relevant operating license, seeing that the sectors that are being covered are quite vast. So each of those sectors, depending on the business that you're in, may require a different set of licenses. So regardless of the sector you're in, you need to know the various licenses that are applicable, and you will need to be up to date, as well as relevant health and safety and environmental standards certification. In terms of co-finance, so as an applicant, you must be able to contribute at least 50% of the project cost through a blend of cash and cash equivalents, credit or equity from your own or third-party sources. I'll repeat that. As an applicant, you must be able to contribute at least 50% of the project cost through a blend of cash and cash equivalent, credit or equity from your own or third-party resources. So under this core, all applicants will be required to co-finance the project at least 50%. So if your total project cost that you want to undertake is costing 200,000 euros, you will need to be able to demonstrate that you are able to co-finance 100,000 euros of that total project cost. So regardless of the amount that you will require to implement and actualize your project, 50% of that amount will need to be financed by yourself as the applicant. So the applicant must be directly responsible for the preparation and management of the action with the implementing partners and not as an intermediary. So we would like to ensure that all applicants are not intermediaries, but they are actual owners of the business, and they will be the ones that will be implementing the project, as our contract will be with the applicant that we see according to the documentation that you submit to us, and we will trust that what you share with us is the actual owners and the ones that will be implementing the project. So this is a typical example of the minimum grants and maximum grants that will be available under this core. So the minimum grant that one can apply for is 100,000 euros, and the maximum grant you can apply for is 500,000 euros. So you can apply for any amount between those two, on the basis that whatever amount that you apply for, you should be able to provide the matching finance of that particular amount. So if you apply for 250, you should be able to provide the other 250, meaning that your project cost is 500,000 euros. We will now look at the third funding opportunity under this core. So this funding opportunity is what we're calling Funding Opportunity 2, which is targeting startups with investors secured, or those that have secured investment from financial service providers, such as venture capital firms, banks, and impact investors. So majority, in terms of shareholding, majority of the shares owned by women or youth aged 18 to 35 years old at the time of application, with 50% shareholding by Zambian citizens. So what's key under this core is that you need to be a startup which is owned by a woman or youth, according to that age range that you have in front of your screens. But most important is that 50% of the business should be owned by Zambian citizens who are women or youth. The minimum turnover under this opportunity is 20,000 euros and the maximum turnover is 1 million euros. And in terms of the years of operation, considering that you're a startup, so we do take into account that you're a fairly young business, so you will be required to be in business for at least a year in Zambia. With regards audited financial statements, you must have at least 1 year completed management accounts prepared in accordance with the Zambia Financial Reporting Standards for micro and small entities by an accountant who's accredited by the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants, ZICA. With regards to statutory compliance, as with the other opportunities before, you must be compliant for the most recent year with all national and local laws and regulations, including meeting all obligations relating to payment of taxes, remitting returns to PACRA, Social Security contributions, operating licenses, and relevant health, safety, and environmental standards. With regards to co-financing structure, you must also be able to contribute at least 50% of the project cost from financiers or investors. So with this particular opportunity, it's a bit unique in that in the event that you as a startup do not have the financial capacity to co-finance 50% of the required project cost, we will allow for your financial service provider or investor that is backing your startup to be able to contribute on your behalf the 50% of the matching finance that is required. However, as with the other opportunity, the applicant, in this case the startup, must be directly responsible for the preparation and management of the action with implementing partners and not acting as an intermediary. The minimum grant allowable under this opportunity is 100,000 euros and the maximum grant is also 500,000 euros. So what's key is that if you're looking for anything less than 100,000 euros, you will not be considered eligible under this core. And if you're looking for anything above 500,000 euros, again, you will be out of scope and may not be eligible for this opportunity. However, grant support for feasibility studies are up to 70% of the total project cost, and you can apply for up to 100,000 euros. So for those that are applying to undertake a feasibility study, unlike the 3 opportunities shared here, you can only apply up to 100,000 euros and you can contribute 30% of the total project cost. A minimum of 30% of the total project cost is to be co-financed by you, the applicant, and the project, in this case the GREENTech project, will then be able to finance 70% of that total project cost. However, the maximum that you can apply for is only 100,000 euros under this provision for feasibility studies. So as an applicant, you would want to know what could be funded under this core and what is not allowable. So on your left in red are those that are ineligible costs such as debt and debt service charges, provisions of losses, previously funded costs, currency exchange losses, third-party credits such as input credits to external entities, working capital costs such as salaries for staff or utility bills, these kind of overhead costs. However, what would be eligible under this core are capital expenditure such as investments like purchase and installing of machinery necessary for operational efficiency and growth. Transitioning to circular models, we are looking to support the transition, expansion, or refurbishment of existing business units towards sustainable circular economic practices. We're also looking to support working capital for enhancing operational capacity, management systems such as enterprise resource planning, ERP tools, as well as specialized business development support services. We're also looking to support capacity building, which focuses on developing skills and leadership with an emphasis on financial literacy, management training, and workspace empowerment. And like we had mentioned earlier, we're also looking to support feasibility studies that are looking to conduct in-depth assessments to evaluate the viability of models before launching. So these are just some of the costs that are eligible, but they're non-exhaustive. And we would encourage you to look on our webpage, which I'll share at the end of the presentation, which explains the various eligible costs under this core and the kind of activities that we are looking to support. In terms of the application process, so it's a three-step process that requires one to request to apply, what we're calling a request to apply, where you share some information, very basic information that allows us to know who you are, what kind of sector you're in, whether you're falling within the 8 sectors that are eligible, and whether you meet some of the key criteria that I've just shared in the previous slides. And it's after that evaluation of that initial request to apply, it's at that point that you will then be invited to submit a project concept note. And after that project concept note is evaluated, those successful applicants will then be invited to submit a full proposal. So this is why we're calling it a 3-step process. So in front of you on your screen is what the typical process looks like and the kind of responses you are likely to get should you go through each of those stages. And that's why it's important that when you request to apply or when you submit your project concept notes, if you are successful from the very onset, is that you submit the requested information as accurately as possible, so you don't lose out on an opportunity because you did not read adequately or you missed attaching a document that was required. And so we request that before you apply, you check on the information on our website. We have what we call the guiding notes, the concept note guiding notes. We also have the core 2 guidelines that also give insights in terms of all the information to do with the core, that will then give you insights into what kind of documents will require, so that at the time you are making the decision to apply, you have all that information and documentation with you so that you don't miss out on this opportunity. And so this is why we require a 3-step process, and each of those, there's an evaluation team that is behind the process that looks at all that documentation. And once that evaluation is positive, you will be informed in writing on what the next steps will be. So if at the request to apply we find that you meet all the key criteria, we'll then write to you to request you to then now prepare your project concept note, which you will then submit. And thereafter we'll have an evaluation criteria that's also quite rigorous and transparent, and involves a diverse team of individuals. So after that, again, successful applicants will be asked to submit the full proposal. But what's important to know are the dates. So this core launches on the 3rd of March 2025, and the last date for submission of project concept notes for those that will move to that stage is 17th April, midnight of 17th April 2025. So you have 6 weeks and slightly more for you to put all your documents together, to put all your thoughts together, and be able to submit a well-structured and well laid out concept note. With regards to the statutory documents or attachments that we will require throughout the various steps and processes I just mentioned earlier, include a tax compliance certificate, so we require the most recent one. We'll also require disclosure of going concern and litigation. So this one spells out sort of details of ongoing or potential legal disputes, regulatory investigations, or claims against the company. So for those that will be proceeding to the second stage, which is the project concept note, you will be required to sign a letter detailing any such circumstances within the business. We'll also require a company registration certificate, a current one from PACRA that proves that you are a registered and bona fide entity operating in Zambia. We'll also require a latest PACRA printout. So this one needs to not be older than 3 months, because companies change hands and ownership quite frequently, and so we would want one that is quite current, not older than 3 months, because it gives us a picture of who the owners are. As you know, one of the key criteria is that we ensure that we are supporting Zambian businesses, and the only way we can do that is to be able to validate that the grants are being given towards Zambian-owned businesses. However, even if there are other partners as per the various criteria and provisions that we have in the core, we would like to know to what extent the ownership structure is. Is it 50%, 60%? And so on and so forth. And so that document gives us that picture of the ownership, and that's the only way we can verify the ownership of the business. We would also like to see your NAPSA compliance certificate, recent, if possible, latest, in this case 2025, or at least 2024, 2025. We would also want to see a proof of health insurance registration. We would also want to see the workers' compensation certificate. And so this also gives us a picture that you are compliant with regards to the Zambian labor laws. We would also want, for those that are submitting as startups with investment backing or financial backing from a financial service provider or venture capital firm or investor, would want to see a letter from the venture capital firm or angel impact investor stating their commitment that they will be providing the co-financing requirement should you be given an opportunity under this core. So these documents are very, very important, and that's why at the time of making the decision to apply under this opportunity, we would like that you have a bit of time to ensure that you get all this information together, so that once you log into the system, you have all that documentation at hand to ensure the process is seamless for you. So for those that will commence the application process, you will be provided with a link on our website, which you can then access the request to apply. So this is just a screenshot of what that platform looks like. And in terms of the documents that you need to attach, this is how the screen will look like. And we urge every applicant to ensure that where there is a requirement to attach a document, please attach the appropriate document. We have seen situations in the past where when we ask for financial statements or we ask for workers' compensation, people attach blank documents or attach a document that is not relevant to the application process to sort of fool the system to think that the attachment has been made. But when we review it, we find it's not relevant, or there's no attachment at all. So we would like to urge all applicants to ensure that you do the right thing and attach the appropriate document where required. And applicants must meet all statutory requirements, as well as any disclosures on going concern and or litigation. And non-compliance at eligibility stage will render the application unsuccessful. So this is why we have allowed for a longer period of time when it comes to opening of this core opportunity, to ensure that we give applicants sufficient time to get their documents in order and just tie up some few loose ends so that at the time of application, you will have all that documentation that is required for you to move to the next stage or for you to be considered eligible. As we come to the end of this presentation, I'd like to reiterate some key elements about this call and emphasize that for those that are applying as joint ventures between a Zambian firm and an EU firm, we will be able to provide grant support of up to 1 million euros. So therein is an opportunity for those that are in that kind of partnership, but also would like to emphasize that if you're applying, regardless of the opportunity you're going for, would like to emphasize that you ensure that you write and input the correct documents, the correct attachments, as well as the correct figures, especially when we look at turnover. Because unfortunately, once you submit, you're not able to go back or to reapply. And also, we wish to advise that you're only allowed to make one application per individual. So if we establish that one particular individual or company is making 2 applications, you will be considered ineligible under this call and both applications will be disqualified. So we would like to urge you to read our core guidelines or our core documents on our website in front of the screen so that you have all the information with you to give you an informed position on whether this is a call that is appropriate for your business and to ensure that you're eligible under the criteria that has been shared earlier in the session. So thank you so much. We hope to see your applications coming through. If you have any questions, kindly write to us at helpdesk@GREENTech4CE.org. However, that email is also on our website in case you need to write to us and check on a few details before you take the decision to apply. On this note, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you all the best. Have a great day.